Child, when I tell you sweet tea is better than me, because I couldn't let I couldn't let no bitches whose whole visual came up from being on reality TV try to bring me down. Do you understand me? I would just embarrass you by showing you old pictures of yourself. You are not going to shade me with the forehead hairlines like this after you've been nipped and tucked to try to look a better way than you used to because your face card wasn't clearing. And if you are built like a bag of bones, you will not come for me. Y'all, let's talk about Married to Medicine episode 2 because whoo. Hey, question crew and new people. We are back for episode 2 of Married to Medicine, honey. Let's get right into it. As usual, they're giving us intro scenes. It's Scamland, honey, and we just rolling through the scenes, going through all of Forest Hills, honey, trying to figure it out. And we start to see Heavenly in a yoga class, pretending to do yoga, honey. We know she ain't did a downward facing dog a day in her life. Them knees is buckling at every inch. Do you hear me? But they are not as loose as that wig is going to be because they fall off on her. But peep how before her wig fall off, Mariah credit run through. I keep telling you, I miss Mariah so much. I feel like she would just be getting these girls together. Anyway, Heavenly's in a class with the new doctor. I think her name is Anika. Honey, I really don't care at this point because we have not been introduced to her in a real formal way, except for introducing her on the couch last week. And honestly, her presence this week was kind of barely touched and unknown. I get that they want to kind of introduce her in, but she's supposed to be like the new person on for this season. They could have let that lady say more than 3 words. I didn't understand it at all. But we move on from there to Simone, who was talking at her practice to a patient about in vitro fertilization. And of course, we're having a little insight into the doctor's life. And Simone is basically asking her how everything is going. And she said, it's very difficult sometimes, as her and her husband going through the process. And, sometimes he doesn't understand. And Simone says, honey, I keep saying if the men had to be responsible for having the babies, there would be no children. Simone's little quips always make me laugh so much because she is absolutely right. Just like with this wedding situation, she was saying the exact same thing later on to Sweet Tea. Then we follow on to Toya in the car with her kids. They're so adorable and they're riding. And of course, they're at that age where, it's all about the phone 24/7, honey. And Toya's asking one of the sons what he's doing. And the other son answers, because that's what you do when you got a little sister brother, you're a little bit of a hater. And he's like, he talking to his girlfriend. And the son is like, well. As he's texting her, and then he starts to talk. So she starts to ask him about how they've been getting along with this book about sex for young people, young adult stuff. And so the boy says, I don't know, I didn't like it because after a while I was talking about too much about the JJ. It wasn't for him. It was just weird with the names and the phrases back and forth. And Toy says, well, it is important for y'all to understand it. And he was like, I don't have any questions. She says, no, but I think you're going to have questions and we possibly should talk about it. And that is a part of what happens in this episode. So we fast forward to Phaedra's house, honey. And we see that Quad is getting out the car. And let's have a little chat about that. And honey, I just want to touch on this because I noticed that the aunties are showing their cheeks this season and multiple shows, especially specifically in Bravo land. And I just want to talk about this real quick. After today, and specifically after seeing the beginnings of Phaedra on these episodes and even some of the other inferences, and I don't even want to put I'm only putting Dr. Wendy in here for example, because I never really seen her be a hater. I don't want to see no more aunties online disrespecting and going at these young girls. It's the ways in which I have always hated seeing older women go after young women for shit that they used to do or for things that they're trying to currently doing or wish they were doing. And one of the things I'm noticing is that the attire is changing day by day, honey, consistently. Even for the RHOP trailer intro that they had with all the women are damn near looking like they could be Cardi B and her friends. So I just want to touch on, I don't want to hear nothing more about outfits and looks, and not in terms of like just like if you like fashion or don't, but making it seem like these girls are dressing with too little on, when really all you want to do was the same thing all along. Because the ways in which Phaedra is showing up on this screen, honey, the way in which Quad is showing up in these outfits that very much give stores that your daughters would dress at, stores that you're, maybe in your 30s, whatever. And I'm not even trying to age fashion. What I'm saying is that the aunties a lot of times will have a lot of comments. The way that they will destroy a Chloe Bailey or a Young Miami or any of these other girls who are wearing these outfits to turn around and then be shopping at the same places, to be wearing the same outfits. It's always been jealousy. It's always been, I just wish I had my 20-year-old body back. I really wish I had a mommy makeover. So I don't want to get any more Aisha Curry energy from any of the aunties. Like live and let live, love and let love. But I don't want to see this no more because for a long time, it just really always bothered me that they went in so much at Chloe, who's in amazing shape, who's in her 20s. In Miami, same thing. And then really what it was is you wanted to nip tuck yourself. So just live and let live, enjoy fashion, but let's stop acting like if Phaedra can turn around and do whatever it is that she's doing, honey, even if it look a mess sometimes, then leave these 20-year-old girls alone. So Phaedra and Quad, the new city aunties, are getting together, honey. And, JT and Young Miami are trying so hard to let us know that they're back in their groove. They're feeling themselves. Phaedra even has a man butler that she brings downstairs. Honey, what is with the tricks and the gags and the gimmicks? Like, I don't believe for a bit that man is employed at Phaedra house on a regular basis running into her sons. But she just want to let us know that she's doing this whole lifestyle change. And she's got this young man walking down the stairs. Quiet as it's kept. Ain't somebody currently suing Bravo for this exact same scenario? I don't know. This may not be a good thing to keep bringing these young people into stuff every time with these sexual innuendos. It's not seeming to work on the side of things right now, currently in the news cycle. So we maybe need to get rid of him. But Phaedra wants us to know that she got some young butler that's coming downstairs to bring them drinks, honey. And her and Quad about to get into it. They haven't seen each other in a while. They start having a conversation. Of course, Sweet Tea comes up and they bring up the fact that, Greg is getting remarried, and, Quad throws a little light shade. It's weird again to me in general, because basically she met Greg for the same reason. I never understand that. It's the way that the history just disappears from her head. And she thinks it disappears from our screens in terms of how she met her husband and why she got with him, even how she got on the show, honey. Like, you looking at this lady about to come up, like, you, and if it wasn't for Greg and Mariah, you wouldn't have had to come up. Like, let's be honest. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, they're having a conversation about that. And then Phaedra mentions that, you know, Quad has been in South Africa lately. She's seen her a lot in South Africa. And she's like, oh, okay, I've seen you've been doing something. And I see you're dating somebody. They saw somebody from last month. So I'm assuming we're going to meet him sometime in the rest of the season. Seems to be a new love that she's dating. He looks a lot like maybe 10 years younger than Simon. And that's also something that I find super hypocritical about the whole like Sweet Tea sugar daddy thing, because honestly, it's like, girl, you're fading Toya for the soft life that you really want, that you're seeking, that you hope you get the soft life via Portia. And so then they talk about how Sweet Tea met Greg, and specifically, she plays the whole I don't really know, but I really just want to bring it up on camera energy of, how did they meet? And she says she met him in the DMs. And, they're like, oh, well, these millennials. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, didn't Portia meet Simon in the DMs? She met him in real life, but then she hollered at him in the DMs when he was on the verge of getting divorced to ask him, was he doing okay? And it's just like the same actions are happening when you're thirst trapping, trying to go over to another country to see if you can meet some man who maybe has a little bit of money so that you can move up or live up. Because wasn't it Quad who was on Watch What Happens Live, and when the whole Portia thing initially went down, defending Portia and in the chair, and even when they were asking her questions about how she got with him in the time frame, she kept saying things like, oh, well, I don't want to get into that, or I'm supporting my friend. So it's like, you're doing the same actions as these young women, and then you're turning around and judging them for it, but then you really want it secretly. Like, you would love for somebody to come in and take care of the bills and do whatever. It's wild to me. Anyway, they start having a conversation about that. She doesn't want to bring up who the guy is completely. It's very smart. I do appreciate that Quad said, look, it's none of y'all damn business who this man is, especially because he might be married. But specifically, it's none of y'all business who he is. I'm calling him gentleman or gentleman caller until further notice. It's very new. And she shouldn't really be claiming anybody, because honestly, it would be stupid to do so. She then goes on to discuss that, Phaedra introduces the fact that Toya is really cool with Sweet Tea. I mean, it looks like based on this episode, it's somebody that had to be cool with her, because it seems like they just want to, build this Voltron to bully her. And so she's like, Toya's really cool with Sweet Tea. And, Quad says she's not surprised because Toya hates her for some reason. And of course, they show the whole back and forth with her Toya from last year, and specifically how Quad played a hand in that as well. Quad loves to play a good victim, honey, and nothing she ain't gonna do. It goes with that outfit. That's literally her personality all the time. I'm gonna play victim. I'm gonna be a part of the mess. I'm gonna be in the mess. I'm gonna make jokes in the mess. I'm gonna make shade in the mess. But when it comes to it, I'm gonna pretend like I never had anything. I just don't know why everybody's coming for me, all that good stuff. So they start having this conversation. I'm trying to figure out why Quad's part is so wide in her wig, and I don't understand. Again, it's always giving bad hair almost all the time. And they start having a longer conversation about how Toya really hates her and she's done with Toya and she doesn't even see it for her and Toya. And she starts to talk about how, she doesn't know what she did to this girl. And of course, they then show the flashback of how she was going at Toya and Eugene. But Quad goes on and says that she's moved on. She's on to bigger and better things, but she is not as hurt by Toya as she is by Heavenly. So, honey, we saw this episode of All My Children. And all of a sudden, Quad mentions that she feels uncomfortable with the fact that Heavenly basically has really turned, her back on her. And, Phaedra tries to imply that, she's talking with Heavenly. Heavenly feels like Quad deserted her. And Quad is like, but have you checked on me? And, basically about, what happened in New York and how Quad kind of disappeared a little bit on the girls once everything went down and she just took her space. And I guess Quad's feeling is that they should understand that she took her space, but their feelings is like she totally went ghost on them and then, was supposed to become cool. Well, Quad says that Heavenly sent her a picture with her and Sweet Tea out and she found that to be offensive. So, do you really have my back? Are you really cool if you're hanging out with his, soon to be wife or his new wife? I don't know when that photo was taken. And she says Dr. G's fiance. And so she says that made her, that offended her. And so she hasn't heard from her. And so Phaedra basically says, well, the phone both works both ways. And that has always been my issue with Quad, is that she always just plays victim, like she never has any doing in it, or that she couldn't be the person to reach out, or she couldn't be the person to try to meet the person halfway. They always just have to come only to her end. So Phaedra's like, look, the phone works both ways. You could have picked up the phone and called her. And Quad is like, yeah, but I'm not really feeling how she is embracing this woman in this whole situation. And, Phaedra just implies that, Heavenly could have felt somewhat abandoned by the whole disappearance act. And that is what is causing some of the tension in their relationship. Quad says she is feeling, annoyed by the situation at the moment. She's sweating. Is her hair still laid perfectly? It was never laid perfectly to begin with. But we are moving on. So Dr. G and Sweet Tea meet up, and Sweet Tea is at home getting ready for, their wedding. And specifically, she's going over like all of the different things that have to come in. He's coming in. She's greeting him with some food. I mean, as she should, because she is, a housewife at this point. So she greeting her man with a plate. She's talking to the dog about daddy coming in the house. They come and get a kiss. I actually really like them together. And I genuinely think that they are a very nice couple. I like to see it. This is the burgeoning, new love for both of their situations. I'm not really understanding the drama around her not wanting to be with a broke man. I don't get the narrative around that. I don't think that she is only with him for money. I think initially that might have been the interest, but I also appreciate the fact that she was being honest about that. We see way too many women on the other end of that on a regular basis who are going for just love and ending up just broke, or in credit debt or any other thing, going for just the guy who they sort of like, but didn't look at all the other things about him that are important. It seems like she's, young, looking for security, not being uncomfortable about saying so, which many people in other cultures don't have a problem with. Only Black people, I feel like we tend to be the people that focus on this the least, and then we end up with anyway. So we're gonna go down that rabbit hole another day on it. But they are having a little bit of marital bliss discussion, but Sweet Tea is stressed out. I mean, planning a wedding can be a lot. She's trying to figure all this out within a certain time frame. Greg is saying like, hey, we did a lot of stuff early, so this shouldn't be as stressful to you. Financially, she is paying for a portion of the wedding. I did see online where she used to be in the military. I'm not sure what she did like directly after that, or after she met him. I think she was in the Air Force. And then he's paying for, I guess he was saying that the percentage of the wedding he's paying for is like 90% or something like that, as it should be. I don't know who's doing 50-50 over here. So they have a conversation about, just the stress of the wedding, and he's thinking it's not as stressful as it could be. He's not understanding that it's a lot for her, and it would be a lot for any woman. I don't think all her family and friends are like completely there, and so that can be very difficult as well. Even if you're planning something with family and friends in this long distance. I actually was a wedding planner, not in like permanently or as a career, but I did help a friend out, and their wedding was actually pretty small. Most of the family lived in the area, but honestly, it was still stressful. Just the small details you have to do every day. And I just saw another friend of mine go through that for one of our friends, and she said she will never do it again. So even if you're doing it as a friend for somebody and they don't have a formal wedding planner, those details, that stress, that family, all those little idiosyncrasies, they could wear you out. So I can completely understand why this lady is completely done. So we're back to Dr. Jackie at her practice, and Dr. Jackie is walking in and meeting with the Brat and the real BB Judy, and they are, obviously, famously, have their own show. Brat loves Judy, and we know them obviously for just recently having a child and Brat carrying their child. Judy already has a child, and she carried her own kids, but the brat is carrying this child. The brat is also a high risk pregnancy because she's 48, I believe, and having the child, which is a big deal. She's at the very high end category of high risk. She's close, like I think Halle Berry, Janet Jackson, I guess Kenya too, to a certain degree. We're all in that kind of high risk category. So she's just talking about the importance of being very careful when you're this high risk in terms of having a pregnancy. Yes, you can have a safe pregnancy. Yes, you can have a pregnancy that you don't go through as many extreme changes, but you do have to have careful monitoring. You have to keep yourself in sort of tip-top health shape in order to be able to deliver safely as much as possible. There are all these different things that can go on, and Dr. Jackie names a list of things that can happen when you are in a high-risk pregnancy situation. And honestly, a lot of the things that can happen if you're in pregnancy situation, period. But the category and the likelihood of these things happening at a higher level are going to be there the more you age. And so she's just talking about those things and trying to see if Brad is taking care of herself. She's making sure she's eating right. Brad does invite, well, Judy actually tells on Brad and basically says, like, look, she had Wendy's today. Before we got here, she was hungry. So she said, what did you get? She's like, I got a single. Like that was going to change it up. She said, but I added plenty of lettuce and tomato and onion to it. I added all the vegetables. Girl, it's Wendy's. But Dr. Jack's like, look, you can't play around. You're going to be in the ER. So, she's just warning her about that. The brat says she's trying to take her time and take, all the information they need, and they really want to have a safe pregnancy. And she does mention that, she's been, following what Dr. Jackie said. But when I tell you Judy was not believing that, and Dr. Jackie says, well, hey, look out. Are you ready to see twins? When I tell you Brat face was so scared, like twins. But the ultrasound goes very well. It's beautiful to just see these two early on, because we've obviously seen now the baby and all of that kind of stuff. But it's cute to see them back in the stages when they were just trying to, figure out the sex of the baby and, just see everything was healthy and just sort of watch this pregnancy process, as well as reminding us, especially Jackie, the importance of, if you're having a baby at a certain age, the high risk that can come into play and the importance of that. That's, when I love these kind of moments the most. So let's move on. So then we head over to Toya and Eugene's house, and Toya is on the phone with Sweet Tea, and they're having conversation about the wedding and trying on dresses. And Sweet Tea is telling her, how she's got, just a short period of time to try on something and to get a wedding dress. And that's not going to leave a lot of time for like something really custom. And they're having that conversation, and then they slide over to, Toya being supportive and basically saying to her, like, I'm going to be here for you. And of course, I'm going to join you for that. But then Toya mentions about her wine club. And I know in the beginning of this season, I was trying to figure out, like, I had heard something about Toya doing something with wine. I didn't know what it was, if she was coming out with her own wine or glasses or whatever. I have no idea. But it looks like Toya is a wine influencer. And so what she does is she works with a wine company, with Kendall Jackson specifically, and she picks out wines quarterly for them. And, based off of those tastings, people can go to purchase the wines through her. So basically, like, she gets commission for when people go ahead and purchase the set of wines that she has through Toya's Wine Club. And then she also does taste the wine. She goes through it and tries to do pairings and things like that. Kind of like an influencer sommelier in a little bit of ways. It's pretty cool. I love to see Black women in these types of spaces, because there are a few more Black women popping up in the wine space with drinks, actually creating wines, but also, in that space as sommeliers, as experts in that situation, and Black men. So I'm loving seeing Toya get this kind of endorsement, because we don't actually see that many people of color in these spaces, specifically as like wine influencers, and there are a lot online. So Toya's working with Kendall Jackson. They basically cut her a check every quarter, honey, and then she also does these things and probably gets commission from them. And so she wants to introduce the ladies on the show to the wine club, and she's talking to Sweet Tea about that, and they're having a conversation about just the whole process of everything that she's doing, and the nervousness of trying to introduce this particular group to anything that you're doing, honey, because they always like to bring you down. And, they always try to cut you down on what you're doing or what you're not doing, or if it's legit work. And that's something that I definitely feel like I've always hated about the Married to Medicine dynamic, specifically like the housewife versus the working wife thing. Like, as sometimes it can be cool, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So After Toya finished talking to Sweet Tea, she's talking to Eugene. He comes in with some wine. He's like, look, you got to get off the phone with my wife. I got to spend some time with her. So Eugene is sitting down and they're having conversation about her talking to the boys about SEX. And essentially the boys were telling her that they caught Eugene watching the Apple TV and they caught him watching the Playboy magazine channel or something like that. And Eugene was like, no, 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 no. He's like, y'all ain't finna tell me of my habits. But honestly, I'm going to actually give Eugene a pass here because I watched that same documentary he's talking about. It was good as hell. If y'all get a chance to watch that doc, please do. I think with Eugene, there were several, but there was one in particular that I think Eugene is talking about. It is dark. I don't know if you're into true crime or anything like that, but if you end up watching true crime, you got to see this documentary. Honey, the stuff that used to go down at the Playboy Mansion, dark. I mean, dark. And it included a lot of celebrities, especially old school celebrities. I know Bill Cosby is in one of them, but he's got like a small part compared to some other people. And some people are now dead, including Hugh Hefner. But honey, if this documentary had come out like when at the height of Me Too or right now, there'd probably be some old men in jail because the stuff that used to go down there with those women and all types of stuff is wild. So I think that's what Eugene was talking about. And I don't mean it's not complete like just on a sexual manner. It was just like torture. It was all kinds of crazy stuff, honey. Way more scandalous than what we see today, or just equally as. Anyway, Toy and Eugene start talking about, SEX and how it's important for them to be people that, broach this subject with their kids because their parents didn't broach it with them. He's obviously a doctor and she's, very open and talking about those types of things. So it's important that she have a conversation with them that feels like they can come to their parents. And I love stuff like this because I think it's so important that kids are able to come to their parents about inquisitive things that they have regarding this and their relationship stuff in general. Because when you don't talk to your kids about this, they find out the wrong way. So they sit their kids down, they have a conversation, they start talking to them about, different buzzwords, honey, orgasm, and what happens with this or that. And the kids are obviously grossed out because they're super young, but they're young enough to also know what's going on online. And they have a very candid but appropriate conversation with them. It's kind of funny. The kids, grossed out by some of the things, but they're also able to ask their questions that they want to ask to their parents. And that is just the most important part of this conversation, how free their parents are in having the conversation with them. They're encouraging them to, wait as long as you can to have safe sex, all of those things. But just Eugene and Toya being responsible enough to show this publicly and also show how important it is for parents to start early because kids are just seeing so much more than they used to see early with the access that they have to the internet. I don't care what blocks you got on. Was just really, really a dope thing to see. So I liked it. And I appreciate Toya and Eugene for being so open. Honey, so Sweet Tea is pulled up to Wendy's Couture, honey, and she is trying to find something as soon as possible because she does not have a long, long time before her and Greg get married, and she wants to find something that's going to fit. Now, we know you should be looking for a wedding dress way before now if you wanted something to be custom and perfect, but she's seeming like she's okay with buying something that has been, made already, and, they have a little bit of alteration going on, but I don't think she's as overly focused. She talks about how, she was younger. She wanted a specific type of dress, but as an adult woman that has some curves and a little bit of body to her, she definitely wants something that's a little bit more form-fitting and very, very cute on her body type. She's with her friend Jessie and they're having conversation. And this was the most positive part of the experience. And again, made me wonder like why, would she invite people to the experience that would have been maybe not as positive? Toya, I think alone would have been okay. But I think when Phaedra joined, it's kind of like an energy sets off between them and they kind of go into this like really, I feel like negative spiral somewhat about it. And it reminded me of when Candy took her family to her wedding fitting and it was so negative once her mama was there. Like it started off really good when it was Carmen and her and the guy. And then when the aunties walked in, honey, it just turned into a complete mess. And it made her experience so uncomfortable and negative that she just ended up wanting to leave. And of course, her mama tried to fight Carmen. So, that didn't help one bit. But it's one of those things that I feel like whenever you do these type of experiences, you really need to do them with people who care and love and support your union and you and keep that super positive. So I would have loved to rather seen Sweet Tea's sister. Maybe she wasn't available to film and the other friends that had come previously, because I feel like that would have been a more positive experience. I think we kind of need to see that around because it's starting to get vibes of them trying to bully her that I'm not liking. Now, child, when I tell you this try-on was ghetto, it was ghetto. So, Toya's here, Phaedra shows up, and I don't know what that feather blouse was, honey. I just be asking questions sometimes. I don't know if that's in the showroom or the feathers. I don't know. I don't know. Phaedra's getting dressed in the dark at this point. So The ladies are all sitting down, including Sweet Tea's friend, and she starts trying on dresses. And I mean, your friends are supposed to give their opinion about the dresses, so it wasn't like it was too crazy. And I think it's supposed to be a bit fun. And I think Sweet Tea initially was taking it in very fun strides. But then she mentions that she likes one of the cream dresses that is there. And I don't think she looked bad in any of the dresses she came out in. They weren't necessarily my taste, but you're supposed to be helpful to your friend, especially because she has a short period to find something. So, the friend is being very positive. That's with her. Toya's, being critical, but your friends have to be a little critical during the dress fitting. They're not there to just co-sign everything. And at first it's okay, but then Toya says, well, you're not a virgin, so you shouldn't wear white. And then it goes to, Sweetie likes a cream dress, and then Toya says, oh, Sweetie says, I love this dress because it matches my ring. So Toya says, oh, your ring is not clear. Child, it was a full mess. So in the last dress she comes out, and of course these things are clamped and everything like that, so they're supposed to be form fitting. And here go Phaedra. Oh, she said, oh yeah, but I'm not feeling it because your butt is just, you butt challenge. What is Phaedra's obsession? I don't even want to say what's Phaedra's obsession with the ass, with the booty. I'm gonna say this is the reason why. No disrespect to Phaedra, but prior to the nip and tuck, Phaedra wasn't the most, she was a little facially challenged. And I feel like the thing that worked for Phaedra was having a big booty. And that I think has been her thing, right? And I'm not saying from a mental perspective or her being intelligent or being an attorney. I'm talking about from a physical perspective. Phaedra, what worked for her was having a little bit of back. And I feel like she put so much emphasis in that because the face card wasn't necessarily clearing all the time. And I feel like that's been her biggest asset. And she focuses on that so much. And she was trying to find something that she could go at this woman with. And she knew she couldn't necessarily just try to go on her looks because it's like, girl, you've definitely been modified. And so I feel like she was just trying to find something to come at this girl with. And it started to get a little annoying to me. And again, one of the reasons I think this experiences need to be with somebody that loves you and who cares about you is going to be critical, but not be, a jackass. And so, Sweet Tea's like, okay, I'm not really feeling what y'all are saying. Like, I understand, but y'all kind of coming at me crazy. And Sweet Tea says, look, she finally says to us what we all been saying, just because I'm new to Atlanta and I haven't been stuffed, puffed, and everything else, it doesn't mean that I don't have a good body. Like, I look beautiful. I'm my natural self. She looks like pretty much every other normal woman that hasn't gotten the animatronical body that you can get if you're in ATL. And so it's crazy to me the pull apart that they're doing to her. I guess this light hazing is what they may be considering it to be. But it's so weird because then people talk about how women need to have self-confidence and all sort of things. But then you're literally bashing her about having a very normal body. Her body looks fine. Her butt is not flat as a pancake. Even if it was, she would look like Jackie. So they then asked Sweet Tea's friend about how they meet. And she says that they actually met online, in a Facebook group. And so they're like, oh, girl, what do y'all meet online? She said, well, we met on a Facebook group for women who are like dating older men. And so they're like, is that a sugar baby group? What's the situation? And, Sweet Tea says, no, it's not a sugar baby group. It's a group for people who are in age gap relationships, meaning that your spouse is usually older than you or you're younger than them or vice versa. And they're like, that's interesting. So they're like, it's about women dating older men or whatever. So they're like, well, y'all had to meet on a Facebook group. Y'all need a support group for that. And then Sweet Tea kind of points out the fact that, she's a millennial. People communicate online, and she's right about that. I mean, it's 2023. People find community in tons of places. And, I'm sure there's a city aunties group somewhere online. And she basically says that, that's how people communicate. That's how they connect. They kind of talk about that a little bit. It was a little bit funny when they was like, so what do y'all need support for? It was funny. But other than that, she kind of looks at different dresses. I think she finds one that she really likes. And, they end the bridal shower. Look up. So today is a day that Toya is introducing the ladies to her wine club. And specifically, she's very, very nervous. She has a beautiful dress on, but she's very nervous because she knows that this group can be very shady and that they're very, negative sometimes when it comes to people introducing something new, especially Toya. We know one of the things that's happened over the last couple of years is that whenever there is something that has to do with Toya, they usually throw a little bit of shade about the fact that she is a working mother. I mean, not a working mother, that she is a stay-at-home mom, and that some of them are working moms, and then some of them don't have any kids at all. And, this is something that I do think sometimes is a little bit of annoyance or contention, because I do think that devaluing women in general who sit in either place is so corny to me. It's a very lame situation. I feel like if you're a career woman, I'm a career woman. I think that you can learn invaluable lessons from women who stay at home, who are at home with their children. They know so many life hacks and so many things as stay-at-home moms that women who are working don't necessarily get to understand or connect with, and are useful tips and hints and things and tricks, and know all of the array of things that are going on. So if you have kids, you need to make sure that you're friends with women who are stay-at-home moms, because they're the people that can look out for you in situations of babysitting or watching your children if something emergency happens, all that kind of stuff. Well, you don't have anybody. So you need to make friends with all different types of women. And they usually know a lot more than you do about child rearing, because they're spending more hours doing it, period. When you're a working person, sometimes it can be very difficult, even if you've chose your career and you're passionate about what you do, or if you have no choice but to work and are a single parent, then you need to have as many women in your corner and in your circle as possible. And I always hated how they kind of shaded toward like, oh, you don't do anything all day. It's like, and it's crazy to me too, because so many women now are like begging for the soft life. And so it's wild to see women begging for the soft life, wanting a softer life, wanting a man to pay more than just 50%. And then shading women who are actually found that and early on were like, hey, this is what I wanted. This is what I'm interested in. And I'm not looking for nothing less. And now they're asking for that. There are whole support groups on that. There are whole online Facebook groups on wanting the soft life and being in my soft life era. And girls are saving TikTok videos about how to meet a man in soft life and trying to follow what's the lady's on? The lady used to be on YouTube and then she got popular on TikTok and she back on YouTube again. I think her name is Shira7, trying to take tips from her about how to be able to get a man to just help pay the bills. So it's shocking to me that the same people that shaded Toya now want to live the life that she's living to a certain degree. So Toya's trying to figure out the situation because her thong is showing in her dress. Eugenia's like, look, as long as I ain't paying for the dress, I really don't care. But what I did love in this moment with Toya and Eugene the most is how he was just speaking life into his wife and specifically pumping her up about her thing and just saying, like, you're going into a space where they can be very negative about anything. Be confident in who you are, what you're presenting to them. Be confident in the product that you have and, where you are in your journey with the business and what you want to do and what you want from them. And don't let them throw you off track because they're going to try to mess with you the entire way. And he's helping zip her up. And it reminded me of my boo. So I really did love seeing them in this moment together. With just him being positive and speaking to her. That's what you're supposed to do with your wife. So child, we at the wine tasting. And I have to say, shout out to Jackie, Sweet Tea, Toya, and Phaedra, who were the only ones I thought that were cutely dressed for this event. I don't know what the hell Simone was wearing with them shorts, honey. And Phaedra, it was coming out of a discount bin, that wig and that dress. She cannot dress, and the hair is always tragic. So it just kills me. You could tell, like I said before, and I said this in my first episode review, they just don't have anybody on here challenging heavily because she's not that girl. And I feel like they just really don't have anybody on here that is going to hand her issues. And that's why I said we need a Mariah, we need a Claudia Jordan, somebody who's going to shoot back at Heavenly, because the things that she be saying don't match up with the outfit she be wearing or the hair she be wearing, but there's not anybody on here that's slick enough to go at her the way that they need to. And so these girls kind of get fumbled up with her, but we just need a one good slick one, honey. And if Phaedra and her not gonna get into it, I don't know. Anyway, they walk in, look really, really cute. Sweet Tea's dress, very nice. I loved her dress. I don't care where it's from. It looks very, very cute. Toya's dress was nice. Like I said, Jackie was dressed beautifully. They came appropriately dressed for the event. It wasn't that Dr. Simone wasn't appropriately dressed. I just didn't love the shorts with the blazer. I don't know where that was going. Anyway, have a seat. Toya's excited for everyone. Dr. Alicia, I just remember her name, was not there. Honestly, it did not matter because we still don't really recognize her presence. Alicia felt like an extra. She feels like she could be anybody in the restaurant, wherever they go. I need this lady to come with some presence the next episode so we get some type of from her, because she's just giving nothing to me. And right now, it's like she could be here and not be here. So they then start having a conversation, and Toya breaks down her spiel, lets them know that these wine selections that she has over 200 in the mix that they can choose from, and she wants them to taste some of the wines tonight. She discussed this collaboration with the brand. They then start having a conversation about her going into this venture and how they can order. And then she mentioned, and so as she's talking, she said she's getting a bit nervous, she's a little bit flustered, and so Heavenly asked her if she's drunk. And she's like, no, girl. And so then Sweet Tea goes, oh, did it feel like that the other night? So that prompts her to talk about how she wasn't completely feeling the conversation, or rather the comments that Phaedra and Toya had while she was trying on her dresses. She kind of felt like they were being a little bit rude at some point. And then Phaedra was like, no, when we talked about the girdle and stuff like that, it was just about foundation and we weren't trying to throw shade, but it was shade. And Toya says, no, it wasn't, might have came out the wrong way. We weren't trying to be, extra mean or anything like that. But girl, you gotta know what y'all was doing. So Sweet Tea was like, it's all good or whatever. So then while she's sitting there, Heavenly says, so somebody told me that you're in a support group for older men. And so she's like, what? And she's like, no, she said, I'm in like a Facebook group for like, like age gap relationships or whatever. And so she's like, what is that about? She said, do you want to join? And see, this moment, I was so happy this lady was kicking back just a little bit. I just feel like she needs to give him a little bit of pinch. Sweet Tea remind me of Portia in them very early seasons where they used to go at her a lot for being not smart or whatever, which I don't think Sweet Tea is dumb, but they used to go at her a lot early on, and then Portia eventually kept on. That's what she needs to do. That's what she needs to hang out with when this season is over. Go sit with Portia for about 6 months, taking some of the energy, especially because Portia's married to an older man, a man that is way older than her, almost 20 years. Sweet Tea, they said, what's 23? And get into how to talk back to these women, because she could have just a cute small lesson before next season about how to talk with these women if she comes back next season, which I think she should. I think her balance is necessary and needed, because I feel like Jackie's not really the piece that she tries to claim, and I think it's nice to have a little bit of balance. She kind of reminds me of Cynthia in a way, but I think that she'll be able to kick back a little bit harder next season. So they start going in about that. She says, no, that's not what it's for. Heavenly says, well, me and my husband only 6 months apart, so I don't think we would do it. But you could tell she caught her off guard. And it reminded me of old Mariah when she would slap her with something that would be truth. So then they start having a conversation. She said, what is it? You listen to different music, or, what's the difference is? They start breaking down the group. I didn't know what was going on. She said, no, it's just a millennial thing. Like, we talk online. She said, these ladies are way behind. Like, we just have, communication groups that we have online and channels that we have online. Honey, it's like when you're talking to somebody about AI, it's very scary. So they start continuing to have that conversation, and then Dr. Alicia walks in, and they kind of cut off that conversation in between. And, they start having more conversations about the wine, and you can tell that, Sweet Tea is getting additionally annoyed by the situation and some of the comments that are being made. And she basically says that she's kind of tired and she's really, really exhausted. So you could just tell this girl's having a stress moment, and it doesn't help that they've heightened up the situation. She basically explains how she also wasn't feeling the fact that when they were at her engagement party, they were basically bringing up Quad a lot. And I completely understood, like I said, last episode, what she meant by that. She was obviously just talking about the fact that it wasn't that they brought up Quad. That wasn't the issue. That girl didn't really care about that. It was that they kept continuously talking about it being her house. She no longer lives there. And the fact that, when Quad was there, and it was unnecessary. And they were definitely doing it to be messy at some point, especially Toya when she brought up Quad's DUI, of which Quad had, earlier said to Phaedra, like, that situation is over. She was cited and they let the case go. It wasn't what it was, but, she thinks Toya's tacky for bringing it up. And I did think that it was just really like a messed up situation. Jackie goes on to apologize and says that she didn't mean to make her feel uncomfortable, and she certainly wasn't her intention to come at this woman in that way. Now, she just says, like, it's a lot. She then walks over to, Simone starts to rub her side and her back, and she talks to Simone, and then they sort of head to the ladies' room and close the door. And I completely respect her doing that, because honestly, it was clear that she was kind of having a little bit of an emotional moment. And it's sad that in this gaggle of hens, that she couldn't have had this conversation with them, some of who have been very experienced at being married, and they give her sound advice. Instead, they were just trying to throw shade. And it's like the corniest part of the situation, because she's still a young Black woman that isn't about to get married to someone. And to see, it would have been nice to see them sort of be supportive to her in that moment. Whether or not they're whatever, especially because Phaedra is friends with Greg, or claims to be. Out of everybody there, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more support towards her, and especially Toya. So it was kind of corny to see that. I love that Simone took her in the bathroom, had a lovely conversation with her. And the outside, they start to feel regretful about how they're treating her, somewhat. And they then go on to, Jackie says, well, I couldn't be cool with my friend's ex, so I understand how Quad is feeling, because Phaedra brings up how she's talking to Quad recently and how Quad was feeling about heavenly. And Heavenly's like, well, I haven't talked to Quad. And she's like, yeah, but I think she's feeling a little pushed out. And Jackie says she understood how Quad could feel as well. Simone is counseling Sweet Tea in the bathroom. Sweet Tea is saying like the wedding is overwhelming and she doesn't understand how she just thought everything would kind of fall into place perfectly as she's been trying to work towards that. And Simone says, hey, it's not a perfect situation in general. And she said, I just thought I would have a little bit more help. And Simone basically tells her, look, if you wanted to have a man's help when it came to type of situation, it wasn't going to be at a wedding. And I completely understand where she's coming from because that is absolutely true. Honey, you must be marrying yourself because you're not gonna get help there. Just go ahead and let him cut the check and be happy. So that's what Simone tries to give to her. She basically just big sisters her in a way that Toya did not. And they come back out the bathroom and she's refreshed and they join everybody. They start in this little thing with Toya. She starts telling them that she has this challenge for them, but she wants them to drink some of the wines. One of the wines is the wine that she picked from her wine listing that is a lot more expensive than the other wine, which is a box wine. And she said whoever votes for the box wine the most will be considered to be the box wine bitch. And the other people will, just will vote for her wine. So they basically have tons of rounds with different wines that she's tried. I think she gave them like a Pinot Noir, a blend, and I think she gave them a Cabernet, but I'm not sure. And they try all the different wines, and they're telling her like how it tastes to them, how how it tastes, how it feels going down. Jackie said she doesn't drink wine, but honey, she emptied 2 of them glasses. And they eventually, vote for each of their wines in the different rounds. At the end of the round, we find out that Simone is the box wine winner, honey. She picked the box wine a couple of times, so she is the queen of box wines. Simone ain't got no problem with that. Neither do Costco, honey. They sell thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of bottles of box wine every year. So nobody else in America got a problem with box wine either. I myself am not a wine drinker. It's just never really been my thing. I've had a couple of sweet wines. I've had some dry. I've had some reds. It just isn't really my thing. I do like going to a good vineyard hoe. And I prefer, like Simone, I prefer a good mixed drink. I prefer a good vodka with something in it. So I am not a wine girl. But again, I appreciate Toya in this space. They communicate again about connecting with each other, trying to apologize to Sweet Tea for making her feel a little bit, uncomfortable. And they end up, sort of ending the night. Sweet Tea says she's on her way out the door. And as she gets up, honey, the price tag is on her dress. I mean, it was funny because, like, how did you forget that your price tag was on your dress? It's just something else. But it's also one of those things where I'm glad, like, she's so young. She can make as many mistakes as she wants and she'll be fine. And, it's very corny of them trying to form this like bully Voltron. It's getting tired and old, especially because so many of those women have lived a part of the life that they're talking about with her. The way Phaedra got with Apollo, honey, we could go down that timeline. It was not cute. Angela Stanton did put it in her book, though. So they all say they're happy for Toya. They support her and what she's doing. And that's the end of the wine tasting, child. So Phaedra shows up as Little Kim dressed to meet Greg. And I don't know what their dynamic is as far as their friendship is concerned. I be wondering if Phaedra really this man friend or not. But they're meeting up. Again, Phaedra's getting really messy. This meetup was more just her trying to get information from Greg and find out more about him and Sweet Tea. She keeps pushing a narrative about him not getting married again, or why is he getting married? She wouldn't want to get married. And it's like, girl, he wasn't married to Apollo. I mean, it's just giving weird energy. Again, this man seems to be very happy. She's trying to inquire as to whether or not he knows that his wife is there for money. And it's like men who are older know that the woman that they're marrying, especially if she's younger, is not there for fun. She's not there for just love. 9 times out of 10, she's there because he's a man that has security and can take care of her. And that's how it should be, no matter what age you are. I don't know, people out here just marrying for love. I don't know. Put down in the comments if you only married your husband for love. I ain't trying to show anybody if they did that, but that's crazy to me. Like, I don't think people, like, marriage is a social contract. It has always been. So the institution of it suggests that it should come along with things. I don't know. Culturally, maybe it's different. I don't get it. But she tries to, shade again the situation. And I guess she's also trying to find out if he understands that Sweet Tea is not just looking for somebody to love him and be in a relationship. But, Greg seems to be aware of that. And he seems perfectly fine. I don't think he's a dumb guy when it comes to money. I don't think he's being taken for a ride. I think he definitely understands what he's getting into. And the man is happy. He's joyful. That's what you should be happy to see. That's what Cecil and them recognize right away. Like, the man is just more excited. I've seen him have more intimate moments and sweet moments with her than I ever saw with Quad. They definitely felt like roommates. Greg is smiling. He's laughing that little laugh, honey. But he seems overjoyed. And I would be so happy for my friend in that capacity. Obviously, it's good to throw a warning shot out there about your finances and making sure you're good. But nobody threw a warning shot for Phaedra when she wore that wig. So I think we all can just stay in our place and be happy for our friends. Phaedra then throws out that she don't think she would ever want to get married. Girl, this is his wedding. It's not yours. And you have to find a man to do that. And she ends up just kind of saying, like, watch yourself with the situation. But if you know what, Sweet Tea can give him the legacy that he's looking for, I'm more than happy to support that situation. I'm glad she said that. I really am liking Phaedra this season, so I don't want her to go too far down to the dark side, because the renewed Phaedra with this outfit look, with these outfits and looks and all, honey, is still better to me than the Phaedra that was with us at the end of RHOA. But like Jackie said, she's slick like oil, so we got to watch our back. What y'all think about the episode? Let me know. I know we have a new episode coming on tomorrow. Let me know how y'all feeling the season so far. Who's your favorites? Who don't you like? Who don't you want to see again? And do y'all feel like they brought this lady on the show? Pretty much they give quite a storyline, because it's giving that. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.